made all conference, had some All-American mention, and then getting drafted in the first two rounds of the NFL draft is a feat that is pretty tough to pull off.
Hi, Minesh Baxi here, and I have a good friend, somebody I know has been somebody who's not only been successful, but also somebody who cares and compassionate about people. His heart is for people. So one time that I actually went to his office, I knew this is a man who cares about people. So please welcome my good friend Terrence Murphy. Terrence, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you, brother, for having me. It's an honor to spend some time with you and get some FaceTime again. So
Get some FaceTime, right? Exactly. So for those who may not know Terrence, do you want to tell a little bit about your background? Because I'm sure some people may not have run into football.
Oh, yeah. So just born and raised in East Texas, single mom household. She taught us a lot. Went to Texas A&M and graduated. Actually graduated in 4 years and was three-time academic all-conference and got drafted by the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers was our first pick in the draft, and I was the second pick. Not a lot of people know that. Ended up having an injury, and which forced me to retire early, and then just transitioned into financial literacy, business, startups, and just fell in love with real estate.
Wow, that's fantastic. So there are quite a few accomplishments. You want to count a couple of them so that at least people are aware of your accomplishments because you're a humble man.
Yeah, I guess in football, I had, probably over 20, 30 records that I set in D1, Texas A&M. So, and made all conference, had some All-American mention, and then getting drafted in the first two rounds of the NFL draft is a feat that is pretty tough to pull off. Then once we started our businesses, we started startups that we've won Inc. 5000 multiple times, which is one of, ranks the fastest growing private owned companies in the United States. Texas A&M Business School, which is one of the top 10, top 15 business schools in the United States. We've won the Aggie 100 3 out of the last 4 years. It's one of the fastest growing Aggie owned companies in the world. And we're actually on pace to hit $1 billion in sales. So in our market, that would be the fastest that it's ever been done. So we're doing some good stuff, but we're just learning, reading, trying to get the knowledge. And one of the big things we're excited about, we haven't rolled it out yet, but we're getting ready to expand into other markets. So we're going to be looking for real estate expansion partners soon with TM5 properties around the state of Texas.
But that's fantastic. And I think the key part, which is the biggest challenge, and that's one of the things I want to focus on, is most people believe that successful people become successful automatically. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like someday they just woke up and they walked into the NFL. They walked into Green Bay Packers. They walked into creating $1 billion company. It's like that does not happen. So what can you share which will make people say, Terrence has the same kind of fears, doubts, and challenges that I have?
Yeah, what I would encourage people to do is figure out what their passion is first. That was my biggest prayer when I was done with ball, because ball was my passion. I asked God to give me a passion. It didn't matter what it was. It could have been pharmaceutical sales. It could have been going back getting my master's and PhD. It could have been running a lawn business. It doesn't matter. I just wanted a passion. And I always say, find that passion first. And then when you find that passion, learn your craft. And that's where a lot of people fall short, is they may be successful at something, and then when it's time to transition to something else, they expect to be here. No, when you transition, you got to start back down here. And especially for athletes, and that's a tough transition. And so really just being focused on that. And I always say, once you learn your craft, you have your passion, then if you become the best or one of the best, then the success, the resources, the notoriety, some of the things that people want and need, that all will find you. But just focus on your craft and become one of the best, make an impact in people's lives, and then everything else will line up.
Well, I agree with you. Whenever you have to go to the next level in anything, you have to become humble enough to realize that you don't know enough yet. And I think the part that is most important for me to remember is I'm not the person who has attracted the next level of success. And if I don't put myself through the process that I need to go through as a person, I'm not going to attract that next level of success either. You would agree with that, right?
I do agree. And business, I always tell people business reminds me a lot of being an athlete. That's the reason why we gauge everything that we do. So if I go out and I bench 370 pounds, right? Well, I can't just jump on the bench next week and put 500 pounds on there. There's a process to get to the next level, but I don't just make this crazy jump, because if I do, it's not sustainable. So I got to grow in increments, and then I got to be writing down my weights. I got to be writing down my times so that I can say, okay, how do I get to that better time? And that's the thing I love about athletics, is it teaches you to be patient, because there's nothing that happens overnight. So when people say LeBron James is an overnight success, no, he's been shooting and playing basketball for a long time before he unveiled his talents to the world. And there was a lot of missed shots, a lot of rolled ankles, a lot of bad decisions in his process. Now we're just getting to see the finished product. And so in business and in our life, we just look at people's highlights, because we look at Instagram or LinkedIn, and all we see in their life is the things that they did right. But we don't get to see the things they did wrong in order to get to where they're at. And I always tell people, focus on that first.
That's very true, very true. And I think the part which is, again, aside from talent, because some things do require talent that everybody doesn't have. I'm not a musician or any of that stuff. But the part that I think the additional part is they are good students. They have submitted themselves to the process of whatever that is in order to get to the level that they are at. And if they were not a good student, they won't be getting there. So tell me a little bit about what are some of the key things that you have incorporated as habits which have helped you become successful, because regardless of which area, you've been able to transition into successful. So what are some habits you have created in your life?
I always say it starts with self-belief. And as cliche as that sounds, it doesn't matter if you're playing football, if you're selling real estate. If you don't believe that you can do it, then you're right.
Yes.
So it's like you got to decide first, because in that belief will give you perseverance. It will give you grit. It will give you determination, because you believe that you're going to make it happen. And that's why you see a lot of people who aren't really passionate about something and they don't really believe in themselves. As soon as the going gets tough, they fold and want to go do something else. And then, you have that friend from college or high school, every time you turn around, they got a new career, because they're not willing to stick with something. And so I always say you gotta stick with it. So that's one of the things that to me is across the board. If you measure success with people, that's gonna be in their DNA. The other one would be hard work. Simple. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You can be a scientist. If you're not willing to stay in there certain nights till 3 a.m. running formulas, if you're not willing to make the sacrifice and work hard, you're just not going to be successful. Because this whole mantra of I can outwit people, man, at the end of the day, you got to put in the work. And it doesn't matter what career path you choose or what goal you go after. Like you said, submitting yourself to the process. Yeah, that takes discipline. But then you got to follow that up with hard work. So
I totally agree with you. So what does your calendar look like? What time do you get up? What do you start doing? Because I'm sure some of the activities you engage in are going to be helpful for some of the people to create that clarity for their activities and discipline.
Yeah, that's perfect, Manesh. Like one of the things that I learned at 18, but really at 16, I was an entrepreneur. I had my own little trading card business. I had a lawn business. And so when people always tell me, even in 2020, Terrence, you're just too busy. I've been busy since I was 12 years old. And so you really got to understand time blocking. And when I got to college at Texas A&M, we had workouts. We had to eat breakfast and be at workout at like 5:30 in the morning sometimes. So from 5:30 to 10 o'clock at night, my schedule was packed. And so you just learn to be punctual, although that's tough as you scale and grow stuff. And one of the things I always say, if you're not going to be on time, let people know. I always say, and then the other thing is really understanding your time blocking schedule. And I say TBS, where's your time best spent? Because once you set that schedule up, where are you spending your time and are you getting a good return on that time? Because anytime you give time to anything else, you're taking it away from your family and yourself. And it's just got to make sure it makes sense.
I totally agree with you on that as well. So before we cover a couple of more ideas, what would be success for you at the next level?
I think at the next level for me would be making an impact on more people. Um, we've been really blessed to take brand new agents who know nothing about real estate at TM5 Properties and teach them. They're selling 5 million, 6 million. You know, our per person production is like 38.6, which on average, an agent at our company closes 30 to 40 deals a year, which is, you know, 3 times the average for the nation. So those are the kind of things, it's like, I want to be able to scale that type of impact. And if I can scale that type of impact, not only in real estate professionals' lives, but in those communities that we play in our company, then to me, that's a big goal that I would like to do on another level.
And I know you as a family man. I know you are somebody who's very committed, very dedicated to family. And so where do you think these value systems came from? Because I see a lot of disturbance in the environment. And the only thing I can look at in a simple way, just a simple way, is that maybe some key values have been taken out of people and society. And because we have taken out those key values in the society and the people, we are having disturbance of a nature that normally wouldn't happen. What do you
Yeah.
think about that? Where do you get your values from, and how have you been able to be a person, integrity, and all these things? You know what I'm saying?
I would always say you just got to make a decision. Um, you know, and one of the things that I always say, I'm striving for it, because that doesn't mean I've completed it and executed it to the 100%. We're all going to fall short. We're all going to make mistakes. But do you own them and move forward? And it's just simple as knowing that you build anything worth value, whether it's your relationship with your wife or your spouse, whether it's a friendship, whether it's your kids and having a relationship with them, whether it's a business, everything you got to build it the right way on a solid foundation. And so where I get my values from is my mom raising me. And I saw a lot of stuff in my community, and I said, I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in doing some of that stuff. And in my faith, you know, I put God's word in my heart, and I try to walk it out. Don't mean I'm perfect. I'll fall short every day, just like we all do, but just really learning from that and trying to be a better person. Because at the end of the day, why would you not want to be a good person?
I think that's a very good way to put it. I think the simple part is, if you are following God and God tells you to love thy neighbor as yourself, right? Then it becomes easier to be that person that is inspiring, encouraging, and helping other people. And like you said, you know, we are never going to be perfect, but that's just part of the journey that is taking place in. Yeah. So let me ask you, because I have a few questions on specific ideas as well, but let me ask you, what is your biggest challenge right now?
I would say, and you've been great. You've helped me. We've been friends now for a couple of years, and you went outside the call of duty a lot of times to take my calls and my emails and coaching me. And my mind works in a different way. So my biggest challenge was really understanding who I was mentally. And that's why the personality test and all those things that we started a couple of years ago, being able to understand and read people, was very important. Once I understood that, then I wasn't going against the grain on who I really am.
Yes.
And so really understanding that in a professional setting and in a personal setting, because it's okay to be me. I just need to make sure that I'm doing the things that fit my personality.
I think that's a very good way to put it. And you've been a great student. I remember a couple of years ago when we started working together, you were frustrated with some of the challenges you're facing as a person who's leading a big team, and people are not stepping up. And it's like, how do you make people step up? Because in Green Bay Packers, that was not an option.
They just in the NFL, they just send you home if you don't step up.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
This is a different crowd, right? And to
Yeah.
raise their standards to your standards is the journey that a leader has, right? So that's, I think, always going to be the question there people have. So thanks for sharing that. And I think we are going through a very strange time. I don't think I've seen anything like this, what we are going through today, for a number of reasons. And without going into details on that, how do you prepare so that if a crisis comes, you are not knocked off, right?
Yeah. I think you prepare, and this sounds so cliche, with your culture. You know, you can talk about the numbers and profitability and all those things, but I think it's like any sports team. When you're winning and the momentum's there, everybody can run out front. But when you get knocked on your butt as a team, you get to see who steps up and says, okay, guys, we have lost 4 games in a row, and somebody takes the lead. To me, it's culture. So at our company, we want people to be themselves because everybody else is already taken. That's a quote that I've always loved to say, because you get people who are trying to be someone else. Why? Be you, because everyone else is already taken. And that's when you fit into the team and the body and you help execute. So really the culture, just, we always say our core values, like Traction, this book talks about the core values: hire, fire, and hold accountable based on those core values. And we type them up together. We look at them every year, and we fight to let that be our navigation point.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what people need to be focused on. Like you said, as a leader, you have to have those core values: hire, fire, and accountable based on those values, because over a time period, those values are what is going to distinguish one person from the other,
Yeah.
and whether that culture is formed in the company, right?
Yeah.
And if you have more of the people with the same values, then you create a culture, and that applies in your company, applies in your local community, and everywhere else as well. So in your case, what are some of the steps people should take? Because you talked about financial literacy. So one of the things we want to inspire people to do is to recession-proof their income, their life, because there are some simple things people can do, but it always either sounds like too simple, or for some people, it's like, I can never change my habits. But what are some of the steps people can take to improve their financial literacy and start with the idea of, hey, how can I recession-proof my income?
Yeah, one of the steps I always tell people to take is financial literacy. To me, is just like self-confidence. The reason why it's called self-confidence is because you have to do something about it. And I think a lot of times, and I went through that stage, is why wouldn't I taught this in school? Why didn't I? Well, no, I have Audible, I have Amazon, Barnes and Noble. So you got to make that pursuit. And it's a journey. It's not something that you just read one book and be done with it. And I love processes. I love knowing that something's getting better and better and better. And so I always say, what I would encourage people to do is just stop and acknowledge that they need to invest in themselves. Start listening to the podcast. Start reaching out to people in your community, because we all know someone in our community who's doing what we want to do. Even if they say no, be willing to put yourself out there. When I first got here, I literally pulled out the phone book and I started calling every builder in town. I started reaching out to every banker in town. And a lot of people told me no, they didn't want to meet with me. That's okay. I just kept sending emails and kept making phone calls. So get yourself around some people that are doing what you're trying to do. Invest in yourself by listening to the right things and reading the right things. And then that will start putting you on a path of financial literacy.
Yeah, and the steps are not that complicated, are they?
No, you just got to do it. You just got to do it. And there's a quote that I love. It says, if you want to decide on the success of your life, it's about the people you put yourself around and the books that you read. Simple.
Very good. So tell us about the books that you read that people can get some inspiration from.
Robert Kiyosaki, Who Took My Money, is always my foundational book. Who Took My Money. That book changed my life. As simple as it is, it's hard concepts when you're first reading it. But that's my foundational book. And then there's others like Millionaire Investor, Millionaire Next Door, Millionaire Mind. And see, a lot of times people hear millionaire and they just shut it off. That's why I don't like the word millionaire. Who cares about millionaire? It's more about, like you said, financial literacy, being able to create multiple income streams, being able to have money in a savings account, being able to have money in your 401k, being able to pay for your insurance, being able to pay for your kids' college if they decide to go to college, whatever it may. Well, if they don't go to college, like I told my kids, you don't have to go to college in our house. Well, most people will say that doesn't make sense. Well, for me and my wife, she went to UT, I went to A&M, two solid universities. We told them you either go to college or you start a business or you go to trade school. Simple. And so we give them those options.
Well, you are more broad-minded than I am. My children are not going to college. So it's that simple. I just have given them no options. And I just covered a short talk, and I'm covering on that 10 high income skills in today's environment without college degree. And there are
Mm.
enough of them, and those are what you have been doing very well as well. Who are some of the people? Obviously, Robert Kiyosaki is the book that you mentioned, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. Who are some of the people that you have really said, okay, these people made a positive impact, and you have found them to be like the great people that you would like to be around with, as well as maybe if they're not around right now, you'd like to at least to remember them as the people that you can call as some version of mentor?
Yeah, I would say I really like studying Inc. 5000 list. Those are people that are private owned companies that have scaled their businesses. And I like just browsing their websites, looking at ideas, being inspired by what they're doing, hearing their stories. I like reading their stories. Inc. 5000 has that. If you just go on there, it's got that list. Um, the Warren Buffetts of the world, I'm not a big stock market guy. I used to be, but I just like some of his principles. Robert Kiyosaki is my main guy. Gino Wickman is now my main guy when it comes to trying to scale a business. Um, and then I would say Gene Harnish is another guy that I like reading his.
What is the last name you said? I don't remember him.
Gene Harnish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So those are all good things. So let's talk about the fun part of your life. So what is something you like to do for fun with your family or on your own, either way?
Yeah, I like hunting. I don't hunt deer or anything like that. One of the things in the state of Texas is our pig population has gotten out of hand, and they tear up property and they multiply overnight. So I like shooting hogs. I like traveling with my wife. We love going on little 2-3 day getaways. And then I really enjoy taking my kids to see stuff that I never got to see as a kid growing up. So whether it's Legoland or Disney or the beach or Six Flags or whatever, I just enjoy seeing their faces and seeing how excited they get about that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of my personal time with my wife, time with my kids.
What's a place you would like to go for vacation that you have possibly not gone yet?
My wife really, really wants to, travel the world. Originally, I was like, no, I'm good. I just stay in the United States. I really don't want to travel, but Dubai is a place that we want to go because I also love cars. I like cars. I like fast cars, sports cars, supercars. So obviously, you go to Dubai, you're gonna see some nice rides. But yeah, I would say just in the United States, we really like going west. San Diego is an amazing place. Lake Tahoe is somewhere we want to go that we've never been. Truckee is a place that we want to go we've never been. And in Hawaii, we went to Hawaii a couple years ago. We really fell in love with that place.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think I've been there like 3 times, and it's fun. And again, the main thing is you're doing it with somebody you care and enjoy, right? I mean, at the end of the day, people don't remember your days at the office, right?
No.
We remember the time and the memories we created with people that we really love and care about. So I think that's how I've designed my life. So you met my family at your office.
Yeah.
I had my wife, my children, because that's who I am. So in my case, what else would you like at the last couple of words of wisdom that you'd like to share with people who are watching and listening to say, hey, you can do it, or something to the extent of what you think is an important message people should listen to at this time when there are people facing some crisis?
Yeah, I think with everything going on in the world, one, it starts off with something very simple. We don't need to judge each other by the color of our skin. We need to judge each other by the character within. And who is the person, the man or woman, what are they made of? What's their track record? And that's how I should receive and treat. Also, it's simple. Is treat people like you want to be treated. It's as simple as that sounds. If I don't want to be treated this way, then why do I think I should treat someone else that way? Because at the end of the day, we're really all brothers and sisters. And it really makes no sense to judge someone by the pigment of their skin, which is ridiculous. And so my last wisdom nugget would be, I've always been told you can't my whole life. And I can go scenario after scenario and story after story. But it goes back to my question you asked me earlier. What was my foundational thing about success? Is self-belief. So as long as you believe in yourself and you push forward, nobody can tell you what you can and can't do, regardless. Whether you're a woman or man, whether you're tall or short, whether you're brown or white, whether you're this or that, if you didn't come from a background of a family who had this, and you, whatever it is, just go do it. Go chase your dreams, man. Go live.
I agree with you 100%. I think we all come from a God, and we are all children of the same high God. And if you and I remember that before treating other people, I think the world would be a lot easier place to live for everyone combined. And that's how I look at you. I look at you as somebody who's using those values to become a better man every day, better businessman every day, better husband and a father every day. And that's one of the reasons I respect you so much. So thanks for taking your time, Terrence. Do you want to just quickly share your company information? So if somebody watching or listening wants to know.
Yeah. So our company is TM5 Properties. You can look us up on Instagram or Facebook or Google us. The cool thing about that is we're here in College Station, Texas, which is, if you draw a map on the state of Texas, you got Austin and San Antonio kind of southwest, you got Houston southeast, and you got Dallas northeast. That's a triangle. College Station is right in the middle. And so we're getting ready to expand that. And that's where so just tm5properties.com. And then our office number is 979-703-1979. And be looking for us to expand and do some great things.
It sounds really good. And people who are looking to create a career in the real estate field and are looking for the right coach, you're the best man there possible to assist them and guide them in that area. And I know the systems you are following. So thanks for taking the time, Terrence, today. Say again hi to your beautiful wife. I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to spend a few more minutes, maybe at a fun place together.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.